are just really some people who were given God-given talents. As in talagang makikita mo, no matter how hard you work, there will always be people who were made to do that job.
I suggest that when this whole thing is done, if you had your birthday during the quarantine, you're allowed to have another birthday party for real. I suggest that this goes for a couple reasons. One, it will be so good for all of the restaurants and bars that were not able to cater to everyone that was going through it. So they'll be able to make up for some lost income, and that will do a lot of good for the economy. And two, it's just so that we can all feel like we had our birthday. My birthday was on March 10, and I still don't feel like I was able to celebrate my birthday the way that I wanted to. It was like 3-4 days before the quarantine, but it was already looking like it was going to head towards it. So I wasn't able to really enjoy mine. I think that even if you had your birthday during the quarantine, you better do it. You better enjoy yourself. Yeah. Treat yourself, 2020. Treat yourself.
That's assuming that this all ends.
That is.
We're not sure about that, but yes, great idea, Untitled, and that's precisely why we also want to get connected with you guys here on SOS, and that's one of the things that we'll be doing here today. We'll be answering one of your questions again, part. So we've got another person who sent in their question through the website, and I'm really excited for this.
And for the first time on this show, it will be a male voice other than mine.
Yes!
Let's check it out. Here we go.
So excited.
Hey, Aaron and Joyce, this is Mike from Makati, and my question is, how would you know that it's time to give up in achieving a certain goal of yours? I mean, when can you say to yourself that you've done enough and that the goal you're trying to achieve is not for you? That's all. Thanks for the shot of sanity.
Very interesting question. Thank you. What was his name again? Mike? Was it Mike? Wait, hold on. Let's check that.
Hey, Aaron and Joyce, this is Mike from Makati. And
okay, so it is Mike. How would you know? Mike from Makati, thank you for sending in your question. It means so much that you got to join us. And yet again, even if it is a guy this time for the first time, they all sound better than we do. How is everyone sounding so good?
They sound so professional. I can't believe it.
You guys are awesome.
It's crazy. Yeah, and by the way, thank you to SOS family for your surprise gift for me.
Oh,
really appreciate it. Yeah, so the girls made me a video. They sent me a cake and a card. So thank you to that. Malay mo si Mike was part of that.
You never know. We're not sure. Never know. So let's not say the SOS girls, because we are equal opportunity over in SOS podcast. The Facebook group, please head on over and join in the conversation. We're over there. So question that we're having today is about failure. And failing to reach goals. Parts, you are somebody that has been very successful, and I know you are the type of person that is very hard-headed. What is one failure that you have in your mind that still haunts you until today? No matter how big or small it is. Because I think that some failures might be minuscule to some people, might be very small, but it's still very big for some person. So what is one failure that you still hold on to today?
I have two, actually. Can I mention two? And they're both pretty big for me, like pretty big failures that I'm still trying to... Well, the other one I kind of completely let go, which is painting. One of the dreams and goals that I had before was to actually have an exhibit of my painting. For some people who don't know, I studied fine arts in UP. So that was the big dream that I had. But, I had to keep working and I was always busy. And so eventually I kind of had to let go of painting and that particular dream, which we'll talk about later. How do you let go, or when do you let go, if even you should let go, right? The second one is writing a book. So, and this is a huge one, because you know how much I love writing. And 5 years ago, I was offered a deal to write a book. Yeah, by a publishing company. And they came up to me. They said they liked the poetry and the essays that I write on my blog. And they were wondering if I had work that haven't been published yet anywhere that I'd like to put together into a book. I've always told myself every beginning of the year, I go, this is the year that I'm going to finish that darn book, message that guy who messaged me from the publishing company and finally release it. But I still haven't gone around to doing that. So those are two. What about you, Parts? Like, what's one or two things that you've had before, like a goal that you had before that you haven't been able to really achieve?
Well, my biggest goal in life was always to be a sportscaster in the States. And I still have not reached that. And I think that is something that that we're kind of gonna be looking at here. And the other goal I had was to be playing professional sports. So I mean, it's always like somewhere down the road. I was always like, I wanted to play. I wanted to play in the NBA. I wanted to play even in the PBA or UAP or NCAA. I just wanted to be able to play. And I think that is where our conversation will go. For instance, for me, I wanted to be a basketball player. I wanted to be a professional athlete, whether it was baseball or basketball, because what a lot of people don't know is I used to be Philippine team for baseball. And yep. I wanted to be able to do that, maybe professionally in the States. But obviously, we're not going to be able to do that. So I guess I learned how to pivot, and I learned how to assess my own capabilities without giving up. I don't know if that's a thing. I mean, that's where it gets very murky.
Yeah.
But when I knew I didn't have it was not God's plan for me to do something, I tried to find the next best thing towards it. So I knew I wasn't going to be an athlete. I knew I wasn't going to be the next, the first Filipino to make it into the NBA and yada, yada, yada. So I said, what's the next best thing? What am I good at? If I'm not good enough to play sports, what am I good at? And the thing is that I'm good at is I'm good at telling stories and I'm good at talking. So I wanted to find a way to make sure that people paid me to watch sports or paid me to listen to music or, and made that my goal because I knew that that's where my strengths were. What about you?
I like what you were saying, Parts, because I think the road to answering Mike's question really starts with self-assessment. Like you have to assess yourself, your God-given strengths and skills, and your capabilities to actually hone those sets of skills and talents, and see if your goal is something that you could attain with that God-given set of skills and talents, right? So I think that's one very important thing that you said. It's self-assessment and assessing also the situation that you're in. The second one is hopeful realism.
Ooh.
So you're being realistic about yourself, but you're also hopeful in that you're not going to give up on this particular dream just because you're not, you're physically, or you weren't given the same level or same amount of opportunities as other people who have gotten through that track in life have had. So I like that. I think those are two very important points. And I believe in that, for me, one of the things that made me kind of let go of painting was because I went to art school, and you see in art school, there are just really some people who were given God-given talents. As in talagang makikita mo, no matter how hard you work, there will always be people who were made to do that job, right? So I kind of acknowledged that, and I told myself, okay, I have to be honest with myself. I'm pretty mediocre at this task, at this talent that I once was the best at when I was in high school. I'm pretty mediocre at it, but I do know myself enough to say that I'm still a creative. So, is there a different channel for me to still work towards that goal of living a life as a creative with the set of skills that I personally have? Does that make sense?
It does. Yes, it does. And that's why I always had a concern with the one saying that a lot of people have always been, it's always been top of mind, where all men and women are all created equal. And I've always had, a little bit of irkiness towards it, because if all men and women were created equal, I would be LeBron James. It's not the case. And we all need to accept that. I wish I was as charismatic as other people. If everyone was created equal, there would not be sports. There would not be any competition of any kind. There would not be someone that is better than somebody else. Yes, there's practice to craft and all that, but at the same time, there's also, like you said, God-given talent that some people just don't have. I wish I was, LeBron James, and I'm not. Or I wish I was Kobe Bryant, and I'm not. So what I felt like I could do was I could find where I was Kobe Bryant or where I was LeBron James and hone my skills in that area. I knew I wasn't going to be able to play sports at that high level, so I tried to find what I could do at that level, if I even tried, just to even get close to. And that's where I settled in. And I knew at a very young age I was not going to be 6'8", 275, 4% body fat, jumping out the window, dunking the ball. So I said, what can I do with the skill set that I have? And then I set my goals. So I had a goal, and I was distinct in my ways. I said, I wanted to be the best basketball player in the world. I wanted it to be that way. But at a young age, I knew I had to come to a realization that, okay, I need to self-assess first before I set my goals. And that's how it led me to where I am now.
That's right. And also, that's such a great point, Parts. It's also an encouragement to a lot of people, right? You may not be Kobe Bryant in basketball, but you can be Kobe Bryant in the chosen field that you have. That's one. And also, I like the fact that, even though not all men and women are created equal in skill set, we are all created equal in value.
Yes.
So whatever skill set you have, it is of individual, intrinsic, and personal value. Sometimes kasi I feel like we get scared of pursuing something because you know already that somebody else is doing it better than you can, which is true, which can be true in certain situations. But that particular thing has never been done by you. And you have to believe in the power of your individual strength and capabilities that other people might not have. Aaron Ataide has skill sets and quips, and his brain works in a different way that other sportscasters can't offer to the table. So that's what you have to think. Self-assess, be hopeful and realistic, and choose a field where you could actually bloom the most.
The main concern here now is, where do you draw the line at being stubbornly optimistic and on the other side of it being somewhat delusional at that point? Because if you don't have that stubbornness, you won't strive as well. So how do you balance it?
Okay. For me, I felt like I had to assess my situation also. I felt like maybe if I were more financially endowed at that time, I could have pursued my dream of becoming a painter and writer. But because I knew that my needs didn't match what I wanted to do, your wants and your needs don't match. There was this disparity there. So I went first for my needs and for the needs of the people that I love. So for me, that's the number one thing, right? You have to ask yourself, okay, if I continue doing this and pursuing this goal, is it gonna better my life? Like, really, is it really gonna better my life? Is it worth losing my sleep, my job, my relationships, my fervor for life by being constantly put down because you're not reaching this goal? If the answer is yes, then go on right ahead. If if you have the financial capabilities, if you have, if you're still finding opportunities for you to do it, if you're still surviving, if you feel like you still can, as in hindi ka pa nababog down, like your soul isn't dying yet because of this pursuit, go on right ahead. Because my standard will always be, if your soul isn't being fed anymore, and if your needs aren't being met anymore, then you shouldn't go for it. Because you have to be realistic. You're not going to survive. If you're constantly in a situation where you feel like you're just being stepped down on and you're not going towards your goal, you're eventually going to kind of have resentment towards life, and even sometimes resentment towards that goal that you once loved.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And I think that is where my statement a while ago leads. So, for instance, I always wanted to be a sportscaster in the States. I'm a sportscaster here. My want has always been that I would be able to go there and be able to do that. But at the same time, my need says that, okay, I don't know if I can make it yet. I don't know if I have the right credentials and everything that is on my CV or my resume to show that I can do it there. I have a career here. So I know that I can somewhat live my dream out of the Philippines, and I'm going to still be okay, because if I go there, I don't know what's going to happen. So that is where there's like a compromise between what your goal is and what your fantasy is. Everyone can have a fantasy of what it is going to be, but the goal is to kind of balance both sides of it. Now, if you fail to meet that, okay, so like for instance, Joyce, if your dream or your goal was to have a brand new single with Rico Blanco, or a brand new single with Bono or something like that, there you can reset if you continuously and I know you're stubborn in a way that you're gonna email Bono like every day, or like John Mayer or something like that. And if you got it, then absolutely amazing. But the fact that you have a single with Rico Blanco doesn't make it a failure. It makes it,
yes.
It does not make it a failure. Stepping stones to success are not failures. You're not settling for that. Appreciate the stepping stones that you reached. Because if you don't, the entire journey is wasted.
Say it louder for the people at the back.
The stepping stones!
Sobrang But yes, that's such a great point, Parts. Sobrang totoo yun. I feel like sometimes also we tend to, and especially because of social media and being able to see all these amazing achievements of other people, not just in the Philippines. Dati kasi kaklase mo lang or sa barangay nyo, di ba, yung pinsan mo, yun lang yung nakikita mo. That's the only point of comparison that you actually have in your life. But now, you can compare yourself with someone who's incredibly different, who has an entirely different life in the other part of the world. And you'd be like, oh my gosh, Billie Eilish is 17 years old and she's filled stadium and things like that. So parang yung sense of yung worth mo is predicated on the fact that this person, same age, same background, whatever, is doing so much better than me. But you don't understand that even just filling an entire pub with people who you love and people who appreciate your music is just as important as what Billie is doing. We're not saying aim low so that you don't have disappointments.
No.
What we're trying to say is you have to be able to be grateful also for the achievements and the things that you are able to do instead of focus on the things that you are not able to do.
Yes, and even if the things that you did do and you didn't complete, failure is not falling. Failure is not getting up. That is what it is. You need to make sure that if you do fail on your way to your dream, on your way to your goal, on your way to a fantasy, it is okay. And I like what you were talking about a while ago, where there are people across the world that might be able to do it because, and might be able to do it, and you're sitting there like, how in the world is Khalid like making all of this music that is amazing and I can't do it, and he's like my age and whatever. Don't look at those people with anger. Look at them with wonder. Think, okay, try to learn from them so that I mean, if before the people you could only learn from are the people that are in your school or the people that are in your barangay, it's the same way. If you could only compare yourself to those people, those are also the only people that you can learn from. Now you can learn from other people halfway around the world to see how they are successful and learn and continue to learn until this day. She just turned 27. She will never, ever, ever, ever stop learning. Joyce is that type of person. She could be 97 and she'll still try to learn the latest thing that is there because that is the type of person that she is. Do the same.
Yeah, and thanks, Parts. And I feel like that's one of the characteristics that I've always tried to build up in my life. It's the not being ashamed of letting go of something to pursue something else. And so we want to encourage you, if you're listening right now and you feel like you've been going at a particular goal, you've been trying to get this particular goal, but for the many years that you've been doing it, hindi mo talaga siya makuha. Like what we said in the past few minutes, you assess yourself, you become a realist, you become hopeful, you learn, but you also have to accept things. If there's no shame, if you've been a struggling musician or struggling artist or struggling creative, whatever, for the past 10 years, and then you come to a point where you're just like, I feel like I need to change my career or my goal, but it's just gonna be shameful because people will be like, ay, hindi talaga niya nakuha, no? Kailangan niya na talaga magbago. There's no shame in that because life is a constant opportunity for you to grow. And those 10 years are not wasted years because if you gave your all to pursue a dream or a goal and you didn't attain it, it's always like shoot for the moon and you will land at the stars. And those stars are just as valuable as the moon because they brought you and they made you into the person that you are today. And changing your goal, changing your status, changing whatever it is that you want to achieve is something that is just so truly human. It's so truly human that you shouldn't be ashamed.
Yeah,
of it.
I think that a big part of this is pride.
Yes.
It really is pride, where you think that, oh no, I told people that I wanted to do this, and if I don't, they're gonna look down on me. You know what? I think that the best thing to do is ask your friends and your family as well, because they have a new set of eyes. If you have if you're unsure if you should continue your dream, talk to your friends. And if your friends say, you know what, bro, keep pushing. Malapit na yan. You got it. Just gotta keep fighting. Then, they see something that you don't. Have an outsider take a look at the situation as well. Now, if your friends and family are saying, you know what, I think it might be time for this to come to an end. Maybe put it on a back burner first, not entirely end it, but just put it aside first, and let's prioritize other things. Then take that into account as well, because they might be seeing something that you don't. We might be all delusional to some things that are happening in our own lives, and that we need somebody from the outside to take a look and help us out to assess the situation. If that's the case, then go do it.
And to your point, Parts, to make it simple also, if you have a goal and keep pursuing it and you don't know if you should end pursuing it or if you should continue pursuing it, ask yourself, is my stubbornness driven by pride or by love? If it's driven by love, then go for it. If it's just for pride, then maybe you should start asking the right questions.
That goes for a lot of things in life. Not just goals. But relationships, everything. Oh man, if your stubbornnness is because of pride, get out. Wow, that was great. I like that. I should write that down on like my wall, so I can keep that in mind.
Para may design naman yung wall mo, Parts.
Because obviously, to connect to the entire story, for those watching on YouTube, right here, right there, above my couch was supposed to be one of those paintings by Joyce Pring. So
I know. That was the only housewarming gift that Aaron was asking from me.
It's okay. I
So
got a TV.
see, it's still pretty okay. And okay, so going back to the point that we were trying to make, I love also what you said, Parts, that if you're having a hard time assessing yourself and assessing the situation, trust in the wisdom of the people who care for you and want the best for you. That's your family, your friends, the people that you trust, the people who believe in you, and who probably see your potential and your skill set more than you do. So ask them, what should I do with this? Ask for advice. You know, the best thing that you could really ask. I was watching a TED Talk by Amanda Palmer of the Dresden Dolls and also ex-wife, I think, of Neil Gaiman, yesterday. And she was saying that it's the power of asking for help that really empowers people. You know, sometimes we're so afraid to ask for help or for opinion because we don't want to break our hearts or we don't want to be embarrassed by the decisions that we've made so far. But asking for help will make the entire difference in any situation. Your parents would probably tell you sometimes, your parents will be the one to tell you, na, you should go on and keep pursuing that. I know that in the beginning of this process, we didn't want you to be an artist because we know that that was going to be a huge struggle. But now we see your passion and the way that you create things. It's so different. It's something that we see a future in. Then go pursue it. Trust what your gut says, but also trust what other people say about your work. If they love you and you trust them.
And I know it's not easy to hear criticism, especially from your friends. Oh man, because you would think, oh, they don't understand what I'm going through. They don't understand like the work that I'm putting in. Yes, I completely agree. And, you know, it hurts so much whenever I have to ask my friends and my family about, you know, what they think of my work. But it's necessary because if there's people that will tell you complete and utterly constructive criticism said with love, but said nonetheless, it will be those people. And, you know, me and Joyce have had many conversations where it's like, okay, what should we do with the show? I mean, how am I sounding? How are we sounding together? And this goes all the way back to when we were doing radio, because we trusted each other enough to be like, okay, maybe if we ease up on this, or maybe if you did it something like this that way, because it's said with love and not said with pride. That is absolutely the way that it needs to go whenever it comes to these kinds of things.
Super true. And lastly, I just wanted to say that you also have to trust that God has a plan for your life. It might not align with the plan that you have for your life, but if you know that the God who loves you and who created you and who has put everything in you, including your skill sets and your circumstances, has a great plan for your life, trust that. You know, don't be so afraid of failure, as Aaron said. Don't be so afraid of quitting, and don't be so afraid of stubbornly also pursuing a goal, because at the end of the day, your life matters, and whatever you do with it will matter if you put your heart and your love into it and not operate out of pride.
And there you go. Wow. I think that was a great question. Thank you to Mike from Makati for sending that one in. To everyone else that might have a question as well, please make sure you head on over to www.joycepring.com. Send a voice note over there. We'll play it here on the show, just like we did earlier. And we will head back on over to you guys with a response, as well as heading on over to the Facebook page. The group is there. Shot of Sanity SOS Podcast. Just ask to join. We will approve you and join in the conversation over there.
Thank you again to our SOS family for always listening to the podcast and, of course, supporting Aaron and myself. I also would like to say a personal thank you to everyone who sent me their surprise birthday greeting, their card, and their cakes yesterday for my birthday. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you again tomorrow.
Well, until that time, she's Joyce. I'm Aaron. This has been SOS. Bye-bye.
Paalam.
And that's it for this episode. If you'd like to continue the conversation, go to www.joycepring.com. And if you want to support the podcast, go to patreon.com/adultingwithjoycepring. I'll talk to you guys soon. Paalam.